Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.
Hi, and welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast. Today we have with us Yeliena Theofilatos. Did I get it right?
Yes.
That was a tough one. Beautiful.
Yes.
But not ordinary, which is special because you're special. Welcome to the show. Yeliena is a licensed master social worker, a hypnotherapist, and an accidental entrepreneur, as well as a podcast host. So welcome to the show. Really glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you today. I'm so grateful.
So tell us a little bit about your story, and then we'll jump into what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Sure. My story, I feel like it's important to highlight the fact that even though I live in Hawaii right now, which is the way it's pronounced by local people, I would hope so. I'm a much more precise with that than I used to be. Hawaii, Big Island, but originally I'm really not from here. I'm from Russia. And considering that it's January right now, actually it's the 1st of February as we're recording it, I'm very grateful to be where I am weather-wise, because right now all of my family, which is still in Russia, is getting snowstorms, you name it. And I'm like, okay, and I'm warm and cozy, can't complain. And I immigrated myself to New York first and foremost. And then I went to grad school, which has been my dream since I was a teen, to become a psychotherapist, something that I didn't do when I was in Russia. I was studying banking and finance, out of all things. But I did my master's. Finally, I discovered hypnosis along the way. Actually, I was considering to do it as a alternative route, a way to help people without necessarily having to get a degree and etc. But I still did the degree thing. And I moved to Hawaii as the COVID pandemic just began, and there was no hiring whatsoever for my position or anywhere really. So that's how incidental entrepreneur part of it happened, because I really didn't want to be one. I went to grad school for a reason, but COVID made me do it. So here I am now. I founded My Blooming Heart Hypnotherapy and Coaching. My Blooming Heart. Every time I say it so fast because I've said it so many times. And this is what I'm doing now.
I love it. And your website or your podcast, The Peace Grows Here, they just go together so nicely. You were talking about being a gardener, and gardens are all about peace to me. and the blooming is the flower, and this stuff growing, and it happens in people too. As we allow ourselves to unfold, we discover so much beauty, and I think that's kind of where you go with what you're doing.
You're right. Yes. Yeah, definitely the podcast name came by me like brainstorming, okay, what goes along with my brand's name and what I believe in. And so yeah, they're very much aligned. I'm glad somebody else noticed that.
I do notice that. I just love it. And we were talking briefly about peace being, you were talking about saying it too fast, but
Mhm.
when you say it is, it kind of, it's onomatopoetic, where it sounds like what it is, because it's drawn out, and it gives you that
Right.
that momentary breath. Breathe in, breathe out,
Mhm.
peace. So you work with hypnotherapy
Mhm.
mainly with your clients? Is that how you get the results that you get?
I would
Or
say
do you
it's
do
a
other kinds
mixture.
of coaching?
It's a mixture of hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy for me, it's a delivery method, I call it, because I
Mhm.
just use hypnosis as a way to help people learn skills, but the way I decide what skills they should learn, what ideas and beliefs are beneficial for them, is guided by other modalities.
Mhm.
The trick.
I love hypnotherapy in that it works really fast, and it's not like you're under hypnosis and you have no control over what's going to happen in your life. That's
Oh,
not what hypnotherapy is, but it it allows you to get to a place where those things can actually inculcate into your body and
mm-hmm,
your mindset.
mm-hmm. Yes, I just learned a new word. Thank you. Ilkelke. I can't even say it right, but I'm gonna write
In
it down and look it up. But you're right. I
inculcate.
inculcate. I love to use the word percolate when it comes to
Uh-huh.
explaining why I don't necessarily talk to people right away after we have a hypnotherapy session. I'm saying let's let those ideas, discoveries, and insights that happened in the meantime just percolate, and then they will bubble up. There's a lot of those metaphors in there.
Mhm. Yeah, because it sometimes takes a minute for the things that happen while you're doing hypnotherapy to get to the surface where your conscious mind can actually make something out of what you've
Mhm.
experienced. I find that going to sleep and then waking up, it's
Mhm.
in that waking up stage that it's like a lot of stuff will come to from
Mhm.
going through
Mhm.
episodes like that.
Right.
So
Mhm. Go ahead.
so who do you primarily work with? What kinds of people? What kinds of problems do you solve?
Primarily, I have been working with anxiety for the most part when I just
Mhm.
started off for a couple of years. And now I also, it, and what I'm trying to say is that I've been working with other kind of problems, quote unquote, even as I was working with people with anxiety,
Mhm.
but I never put myself out there as someone doing that. So I work with people who want to quit smoking, but never really like said it out loud to the bigger community because I wanted to make sure that what I'm doing is like a well-oiled machine, the methodology. So I'm doing it now, sort of publicly. I help people quit smoking.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily hypnotherapy only, it's a combination of neuroscience coaching and hypnotherapy. And also, I help people with depression and just the burnout in general.
Anxiety is a huge thing these days. It was bad before COVID, but I think after COVID, it's even worse. They're just like it, it destroys lives.
Yep, it was and I'm not necessarily trying to say that it was like a traumatizing experience for like all of us, but for a lot of us, it was a small or big T trauma, however you want to call it. For some people, it was much more bigger, problematic on a scale, and some people kind of like just moved to Mexico, like my friends from New York, and they their lives going just fine. But for most of us, I feel like all of us, it left us with that, like, oh, anything can change at any time. It can just shift. And that gives us this kind of a stance that we have to always embody. I have to be in control. I have to be ready. And it's anxiety producing to have to be like that all times. We got to relax. We just got to breathe sometimes as well. And it might be a little tricky if we're waiting for that shoe to drop, to so to say.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't just like one or two countries, it was the whole world. Everybody was touched by it. Even people that thought they had kind of escaped any negative ramifications from it, even they were touched somehow. Everybody knows somebody that was capital T traumatized by it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not gone. It still touches people's lives. My father-in-law passed in December, and yes, he had heart failure, but he got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
My husband gave it to him. It's made him feel really guilty. But it's a thing, and it will continue to be a thing for the foreseeable future, at least. It's not like, okay, it's gone now and life's going on like it did before, because it will never be the same again. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a good thing in a lot of ways. It's made accidental entrepreneurs been all over the place.
Right. There's got to be some silver lining there somewhere, just enough. It's nice to bring attention to that part of it as well, because we all know about the tragedies that happen there. And I'm just going to send you some love, what you just shared about your loss. It hits home a lot of people, because a lot of people lost some dear ones in their life. And that's just a whole experience in and of itself, without necessarily considering that the whole world is going through it as well. I definitely had some losses in my life when I was younger, and it changed me forever. And it made me aware that, oh, that's actually possible. And it's also made me cherish every day a little more than I think I did prior to having those losses. I became more aware of how fleeting life is. And I can't say that I'm not always super aware and mindful and present at all times these days, but I'm trying to as a result of that.
I don't think anybody can always be, super present and hyper spiritual. I think Eckhart Tolle once said, you can do all the spiritual practices you want, but just, go get around your family for a couple hours and it all goes out the window. And he's like this really super spiritual person. Things
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's like, I'm sure even the Dalai Lama, if he was faced with his family, would have his
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah, yeah. All just human.
But having coaches that are out there that can help you navigate and give you tools for dealing with things like depression and anxiety, and smoking is really kind of an offshoot of all of those things. People
Mm-hmm.
smoke to nicotine gives you some relaxation. There's some relaxation mechanism to it.
Mm. Mm-hmm. This is how I got into this whole field of wanting to help people with anxiety, because smoking and anxiety was really intertwined for me. For me to quit both, I had to quit both. It couldn't be just, okay, I'm just gonna, continue smoking here and there. But I will deal with my anxiety. I will make sure I do that. It had to be both. And the interesting thing about smoking in terms of that relaxation response, I feel like it's mostly in our head, because in our body, it's a very different story. Our heart rate goes down, our arteries tighten. There's the nicotine is a stimulant. So if you think about our body is actually speeding up, but what I think helps is that when we smoke, it usually, when we're taking a break, we are actually breathing throughout that time. And I think that's what actually brings the relaxation more so than the nicotine itself and the cigarettes. The ritual of like stepping out and smoking and just breathing and taking it all in. Ideally, we just learn how to do it without smoking, and that would be so much more healthy.
Yeah. It's like a signal that you need to take a break. We need other signals.
Yeah.
I did smoke when I was younger also, and you're absolutely right, because we'd go out on the balcony, and it was in San Diego, it was beautiful, and you just, for a little while you were outside. And I
Mhm.
like that, it's moved so you can't smoke inside anymore. I hate going in places where people do smoke inside. And you live in Hawaii, and nobody smokes inside in Hawaii. I live there too. They're really picky about that. But it's just, yeah, I can see what you're saying about taking the break. I think that's really helpful. Did you quit drinking at the same time? Or do you drink alcohol?
I At this point, I do it very rarely, and I have never really been a big drinker, even though I'm from Russia. I should probably be into vodka. All the stereotypes come out when people hear that I'm Russian.
Yeah.
Um, yes, I had to. I remember quitting. I quit a couple of times. I went back to smoking. When the first time I quit, I was then kind of going out and partying. I was in my early 20s and I would smoke and drink. And I realized for me to quit smoking, then I had to quit drinking too, because they would just went so well together. They do. They do.
Coffee is another one of those things. I used to
Oh,
drink
yeah.
coffee and smoke a cigarette. And when I quit, I couldn't drink, couldn't drink coffee either. I do drink coffee now, but I
Mhm.
embraced sobriety a while back, and it's been serving me really well. But I
Mhm.
was old when I did it, so no judgment here.
I hear you.
Everybody has their moment in time. So when would somebody contact you if they wanted to like quit smoking, or if they were just feeling really anxious? What
Mhm.
what would you say about that?
To contact me specifically?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Should they
Well,
contact
if
you? How should they contact you? When should they contact you?
right, if they have Instagram, they can go there and DM me, direct message me. That's the platform that I use the most. Alternatively, you can go on my website, and for smoking, I actually do have a free training that I put out there that people sign up for. They put their email address and etc. That's not the way to contact me, but that's the way to get a sense of what I'm offering, because everything they're learning in that training, I'm basically helping them to go through the same steps, very similar. And I did it just for the people to like get an idea that I'm not just a regular hypnotherapist who offers like one-off hypnotherapy sessions for quitting smoking, because I honestly don't believe in them myself. But mybloomingheart.com, that's the name of my website, and you people can find anxiety training and a smoking training both there, and just send me an email. I believe I do have a contact form. I do. So go ahead and do that if you
I
wish.
think I saw it on there too. Um, so anxiety and smoking going together, do you think smoking actually aggravates anxiety?
Yes, because if we smoke tobacco or actually anything,
Mhm.
and think that that provides us relief, it might do that for the reasons that we spoke about just prior to this because it's like a breather space. It's a break. It's like you're punctuating your day, you know, where the smoking breaks. It's you build up tension and then you're like, okay, and now I've got to like release it. So that's where the smoking comes in very handy. But when we do that, we're not really addressing anxiety at its core. The only thing that we're doing, the anxiety pattern, whatever it is for that particular person, is still very much alive. And we are not in any shape or form engaging with it. What we're doing, we're building a habit around it that is going to just keep it in place because it's distracting us from actually learning the tools like regulating your nervous system, let's say, that will actually help us with anxiety. Smoking doesn't help us in a long run. It just gives us this momentarily, very temporarily relief that keeps us going back to smoking, but anxiety is still there intact.
Yeah. And it does so many other things to your body as well that you don't even really think about them, but they they make you feel certain ways because of the chemicals that are actually in the tobacco or the don't even get me going down the pot road. That just I have smoked in my life, but it generally just makes me really anxious. It's like I don't know why people do this. If you're just gonna get if it's not gonna make you feel good, what's the point?
I hear you.
So people can get in touch with you over on your website and they can listen to your podcast, Peace Grows Here. Where can they find the podcast?
On my website, or if they have Spotify and Apple, those two platforms I'm on.
That's awesome. And what do you talk about on your podcast?
I talk about anxiety. I'm gonna record one for smoking soon. That's my podcast has been primarily focused on actually guests interviews. The first round of the 8 episodes, it was all guests. So only now I'm starting to talk about anxiety solo, so to say. The past 2 episodes that I did was on regulating nervous system, and another one was on how to use self-talk, the way we talk to ourselves in our minds, to shift our mood, our state to a better one. But a lot of times I do 50-50. I talk to female entrepreneurs and ask them, they can be in any kind of industry. I'm just really curious, how are they doing their life, their business life, and still capable of like maintaining their mental health and emotional well-being. I ask them to give their tips that are just to be very practical and real. And the idea is to educate and just show that running your own business is it's a bit of it's not easy. And we all have to somehow balance and find our ground over and over again. And I think the best is to learn from people who are doing it alongside with you other female entrepreneurs. So the majority of my audience is female entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, what's the one thing you hope that the audience takes away from our conversation today?
So the one thing that I hope the audience takes away is, when it comes to anxiety, I have a mantra that I came up because I have observed so many people to try to think the way out of anxiety. If I think some more, I will get out of it. That's the idea, but it tends to be actually trapping us back into that state. So my one thing, if you're feeling anxious, please regulate your nervous system first. Do some breathing, do some walking, dancing, singing, get out of your head for a moment. And then when you feel safer in your nervous system, go back and think some more if you still have to. Start with the body and then go for the mind. That's just my recipe for success.
I like it. I like it. Start with the body and then approach your mind. Often we get trapped in our heads and we forget about our bodies.
True.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Yeliena.
Thank you. Yay.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.